Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the P. Carroll Sport Podcast. This is a very special episode number 50 of the P. Carroll Sport Podcast. This week, we are going to be looking back on round two of the Tipperary Senior, Premier, Intermediate, and Intermediate Hurling Championship. But yeah, episode 50. I'm trying to think when the first one I did is, I think it was the 2023 County Championship when we first started doing these. So yeah, it's brilliant that we've got to episode 50. The channel is going well. We're creeping up there towards 900 subscribers, going well on Spotify as well. So big thanks firstly to everyone tuning in and supporting the podcast. And a like in this video is always appreciated as well. We've been doing well with the likes. We'll set a nice 75 kind of target there for this video. So 75 likes, that's the target to set out. But yeah, round two with the County Ireland Championships is in the books. As always, I'll go down through the games. I was at a good few of them myself. I was able to watch them back on Clubber and give my thoughts and where we are. We'll also go through my predictions, which I can tell you after round one they were going pretty well. We a lot of green there. We got 17 out of 24. I haven't calculated it up what I've got out of 24 this week, but it's certainly not 17 with the way the results go. So, or the way the results went. So I'll go down through the games and I'll give my take as well. I had something else to mention there as well, but that's gone out of my head. So, oh yeah, why is this on Wednesday at 20 past 4 as I'm recording? So usually I like to get this done on a Sunday night or maybe a Monday evening. So with the way work is, I'm in Tip FM obviously. Busy Sunday covering the games, and Monday then I had to drive down to Clonmel to present extra time. Ronan Quirk, the usual host, wasn't around, so I had to go down to Clonmel on Monday, so I didn't have time to record it then. And then Tuesday, which is yesterday, what was I doing? No, yeah, yesterday. Geez, my days are all over the place. Yesterday, then I was back, and I had originally planned in my head to record the podcast on Tuesday evening, but I got caught up with different things going on around here. So Wednesday now, 20 past 4, I was on the early shift in work today, so up early this morning to start reading the 7 a.m. news bulletin and onwards. So we're 20 past 4 now, and now we're here ready to rock. So apologies that it's a bit late. Usually now the next times. So this podcast in 2 weeks' time, looking back on round three. That'll probably be a Monday. The NFL is back on Sunday week, so I think that's like the 7th of September. So my Sunday evening will be watching American football. So anyway, after all that, for now, we're going to look back on the games, and next week we'll be looking ahead to round three. I'll give a quick synopsis on some of the permutations for round three, but I'll go through all that properly maybe early next week, and we'll have a podcast next week where I go down through group by group what needs to happen for each team and things like that. But right, let's get into it. Round two of the County Senior Hurling Championship, we'll go group by group, and the first game is an incredible game. Killadangan against Holy Cross Ballycal. This was on in Templemore on Saturday evening. Holy Cross 419, Killadangan 218. This was, if you're watching, just top quality standard is the first thing I have. The first half of that game, if you haven't watched it back, well worth your time watching back. It's such top quality hurling. Holy Cross, as I've said before, just looks like such a well coached team. Brendan Ryan and Aidan Stakelum there involved with Holy Cross this year. So much of those young players, like I have another note written down that 10 of the players that started the under 21 county final, 10 players that started for Holy Cross Ballycal against Killadangan the other day, 10 of them started in the under 21 county final last December against Clonalty for Holy Cross. And Holy Cross won that game by 15 points. So such a young team, and there was stars all over. I have my notes for that game somewhere here that I would have been using when I was commentating. They're fairly kind of battered now because they're in the bag, but 3-12 to 2-8 at halftime. Mikey Nally got 2 goals, and it was funny, he probably wasn't as ever present in the game as he might have been against Toomey Vara, but he came up with 2 goals. It was a Ewan Burke long ball from outside his own 21 down to the edge of the square pretty much, and Mikey Nally just got in around the back of James Quigley and snapped it, and he was in one-on-one with Barry Hogan from about 5 yards away, and he just kicked it in. So he's such a handful. The second goal for him then as well, I'm trying to even think of that in my head, but he got 2 goals. Tiernan Ryan got a goal, Dara Woods got one as well. Dara Woods missed a goal early on as well. A ball played across to him, and he caught it and played it low just past the post. He had a kind of chance late on as well where he pulled on one. So he could have had a hat-trick. I think Dara Woods finished with 1-5. Yeah, Tiernan Ryan with 1-2, as I have it down there. Mikey Nally with the two goals. But just such high standard. Oh yeah, Mikey Nally's second goal, I remember it now. Joe Caesar broke onto a ball outside the 45 and just took off. And just kind of broke the tackle and was kind of bearing down. It was like a 3-on-2 situation, then a 2-on-1 situation. And he kind of looked like he was throwing it up to hit it, and he just kind of poked it to Mikey Nally, who was a spare man, and Barry Hogan came rushing out. Mikey Nally just went around him and finished it into an empty net. But yeah, even the Dara Woods goal in the first half, Robbie Ryan gets the ball back to goal out on the sideline on the far side of the field and just turns, I think it was David Sweeney on him, just slips at the wrong time. And then Robbie Ryan has loads of time to think about, what am I going to do with this ball? Will I pop it over? Will I stay running down the line? And he's looking for the pass the whole time. So that kind of told you that these lads have been told, go for goals here. And played it across the 21 to Joe Caesar. He played it across to Dara Woods, and Dara Woods, or no, Joe Caesar actually took an unreal shot that Barry Hogan saved. The rebound came out to Dara Woods, and he finished it into the back of net. Those were the Holy Cross goals in the first half, but the Kildangan goal was just a piece of brilliance. Neil Cahalan out in the corner flag position gets the ball, looking back out the field for an option, just pings a ball across the edge of the kind of football D, the 40-metre arc, or edge of the D maybe, and Dan O'Mara just sprinting, catches it kind of hip height. That's where the ball came, edge of the 21, top corner. Brilliant stuff from him. The other goal was a Sean Hayes goal. He just got kind of in around goal side of Cathal O'Reilly out by the 45. Conor Burns spotted the run, popped it into the space in behind, and there's no stopping Sean Hayes when he gets in one-on-one from any sort of distance, and he just leathered it into the back of net. So it was just one of those games. It was back and forth. Holy Cross led by 7 points at half time. It was 3-12 to 2-8 at the half, and you're kind of thinking, Kildangan will come back into this. They always come back into this. And they did. And with about 10 minutes to go, there was only 2 points in it. With 5 minutes to go, I think there was only about 2 points in it. And we were saying on commentary, Keane Tracy was with myself on commentary on Tip FM, I was just saying that this is a huge test now for this Holy Cross team. Young team in against such an experienced Kildangan outfit that have clawed them back point for point. Will they be able to withstand? And the big kind of moment came in those last kind of 5 minutes. A ball broke forward. James Quigley came running out for it around the 45. And it was one of those balls where it's rolling and there's a kind of a 50-50 about to happen between two players. And Tiernan Ryan, young lad, what is he, 18, colliding with James Quigley. And you like wouldn't begrudge a young lad for pulling out the tackle kind of thing. And he didn't. He just kind of slid in front of James Quigley and got the little flick away as far as Jimmy Lahart. And Jimmy Lahart turned kind of 25-30 yards out, could have just popped it over the bar, get himself on the score sheet. I'm not sure had he hadn't scored, he only came on, but no, he decided, I'm going to take this on a bit and go for goal. Bounced it low off the ground. Barry Hogan saved it because of the bouncing ball off the ground, was only able to save it out in front of him. And Tiernan Ryan, who got that flick in front of James Quigley, continued his run in and pulled on it into the back of the net. So that was the kind of game sealing kind of score for Holy Cross Ballycal. Other scores for them, Cathal O'Reilly got 2 points, Carl Barrett got a point, Ty Gould, Joe Caesar all scored a point, Owen Craddock, Pork Russell, these are all point scores. 2 goals then for Mikey Nally, 1-2 for Tiernan Ryan, 1-5 for Dara Woods, 2 points for Robbie Ryan, 2 points for David Fogarty as well. So they've scores everywhere on that team, Holy Cross. Like, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 scores. Like, that is just incredible. So huge win for Holy Cross. They probably didn't realise the magnitude of the win until Sunday, because Toomey Var's result over Clonalty meant that Holy Cross have guaranteed top place in the group and can plan themselves for a quarter final, and the quarterfinals aren't until the end of September. So while Holy Cross will be playing Clonalty in the last round, it is a dead rubber game. Clonalty are guaranteed bottom of the group. So bit of management in there for Holy Cross in terms of, like, do you play everyone against Clonalty? Do you rest lads? Do you give lads a chance? Do you keep lads fresh? Do you keep lads eye in? A lot of things there for the management team, but it's a great complaint to have, because they're into a quarter final after 2 rounds, and they haven't been able to get to 4 points for a good few years. They've been finishing on 2 points, each of the last 3 years, I think, but they've gotten to that 4 point mark, and for them, it's guaranteed them a place in the knockout stages. For some teams, that 4 point mark mightn't be enough. If you look at Cashel, they're on 4 points after 2 games, but they're not guaranteed progression, just the way their group has played out. So, and it's happened before. Tumivara a few years ago. Remember, they were beaten by Mullinahone down in Semple Stadium in the final round, and they had won their previous 2 games before that, and they ended up finishing third in the group. So it can happen. It's rare. I think that might be one of the only times, but Holy Cross Ballycal don't have to worry about all that. They're guaranteed top place. For Kildangan, I thought Kildangan were really good in this game, and the fact that they were able to come back into it while 7 points down and hit with a few goals kind of shows the strength and the class of this Kildangan team. But that's news to absolutely no one. The goals for them, Dan O'Mara, and the second one, Sean Hayes, as we mentioned. But maybe quietish games then. If you look at Dan O'Mara scored 1-1, Paul Flynn 2 points, Billy Seymour 2 points. Neil Cahalan didn't score, but he had a big part to play in both goals. Even the second one, he played the ball to Conor Byrne, who played it into Sean Hayes. Ty Gallagher with 2 points, Willie Connors and Alan Flynn with just a point apiece. So lots for Kildangan to work on, but they're just really hard bet, aren't they? They're never going to go away too easily, and they proved that the other night. They'll be disappointed with the concession of goals, but sometimes a defeat like that can kind of push a team forward. They have Tumivara next, which is going to be a really interesting game, because we're going to speak about that now. The other game in Group 1, Clounty Rossmore 116, Tumivara 127. And speaking about this game beforehand, you're looking at the history between the two teams in recent years, and it was all very much kind of close games and extra time in a quarter final a few years ago, and a point in it when they last met in the group stages. But this was kind of one-sided, to be fair. Tumivara were a much better team than Clounty. Tuam actually started very slow. It was, 12 points to 7 at half-time, I think was the half-time score. And that was in favour of Tuam, but I'd say after 15 minutes, Tuam only kind of had a handful of points. It was kind of a real slow start to the game, but ultimately Tuam's forward kind of prowess and their ability, the team's ability to get scores from different places was the difference, I think. Clounty probably overly reliant on just kind of frees from Stephen Ferncombe. Carl Burke, Danny Slattery got a point. Michael Ryan Winnie got 3 points. He had a very good start to the game. Enda Heffernan, John O'Keefe and Ronan Heffernan all got points as well. But when you look at it from a Tumivara point of view, Kevin McCarthy 4 from play. Darren McCarthy 1-8, just 1 goal of that was from play, and that was a goal at the very end. But Adam Hall was kind of the main man for Tumivara. 5 points for him in at the start. I think he scored like 2-3 against Clounty in that extra time win in the quarter final a few years ago. But for Adam Hall, he's kind of someone that, Adam Hall is still 19, I'd say, 19, 20, that age, maybe 21, that kind of age is what Adam Hall is. And for the last couple of years, it's kind of, from the outside looking in, it kind of looks like Adam Hall would be a sub. He'd come on and have a brilliant game. He might come on in another game and go brilliant, and then he might start and not really get into the game. And you get that with young lads, but he started here the other day, and it was probably the best game he's played from the start. A huge threat. He's able to win his own ball. He's quick, fast, able to take a score. He's got 5 points there from play. Jack Delaney got 3 points. Jake Hackett come off the bench and scored 2. Conor O'Farrell and Josh McCarthy with points as well. Paul Ryan got a point. So Tuam did make a lot of changes. Mark McCarthy started the game. Paul Ryan started the game. Adam Hall, as I said, started the game wearing number 17. Austin Duff came on and scored a point as well. So, scores everywhere from Tuam. And yeah, Darren McCarthy's free taken was good as always. Darren Delaney got a score there as well, just looking at the sheet in front of me. But as a whole, you'd be disappointed with Clounty. They just Jack Ryan was a huge threat early on, and it took Tuam a little bit to get used to. Barry O'Connell was back on him, but Andrew Ryan kind of floated on him then for a bit. But Jack Ryan was causing huge problems early on because he's massive. Like, he's so big and he's athletic too, and he can hurl. But Clounty just struggled to maybe get him into the game in the second half. And Yeah, it was just kind of I expected a little bit more from Clonalty. Robert Doyle was marking Darren McCarthy and done a really good job. But with that being said, Darren McCarthy was always threatening. The work rate of the two lads is a really kind of key part of their game as well. Darren McCarthy and Kevin McCarthy in particular, really good to hold a lad up in a tackle or win a ball up back off him. But Darren McCarthy broke through at one stage and popped a hand pass off. I think it was to Adam Hall, and he opened the shoulders, and Jason O'Dwyer made a scandalous save. I thought it hit the crossbar. It was kind of going that fast. Like, to be critical, if it was Adam Hall, which I'm fairly sure it was, he just smashed it from close range on the angle. But it was at kind of this height. Now, not taking anything from Jason O'Dwyer, unbelievable save. But we'll talk about it in some of the other goals around the county, and we've already spoken about with Jimmy Lahart there, that off the deck, hit the ball off the ground if you're going for goal. That's what makes a difference. Now, who am I? But I'm just saying in general, as a goalkeeper, when I was playing, it's so much harder to stop a ball off the ground in these conditions with the hard ground. So it's definitely a point that kind of often frustrates me at club games for our own club. Sometimes with goal opportunities, lads not hitting the deck, but or hitting the ball off the ground. But brilliant save from Jason O'Dwyer. That was a good play from Darren McCarthy. But Robert Doyle done a really good job on him, and Robert Doyle is probably going to be an all-star cornerback this year. So tests don't get much more difficult than that. Jake Hackett come on, scored 2 points for Tumi Vara, and I thought Josh Powell had a really good game at wing back. Another young player, done really well, knocking ball down, flicking it away. A bit of boldness in him as well, which you like to see. And Liam Ryan, as always, is just he's kind of the measure of consistency in that Toon team at centre back, and he had another fine game there. So that was a huge win for Toon, because they were going into that game with, knowing that if they lost, they'd be in the situation Clonalty are in, and they'd be out of the championship. So, well, actually, that's not entirely correct. If Toon did lose the other day, they would actually still be in, but they would have needed Holy Cross to beat Clonalty, and then Toon would have to beat Killadangan. But so they wouldn't have been gone, and then it would have went to score difference. That's a whole thing for next week's podcast. But Toon knew they had to that a win was going to be huge for them, and they've got it, and that sets them up. Now we'll have a look at Group 1 on the table here in front of us. You can all see that my head is a little bit in the way there. There we go. So this is Group 1 after round 2 in the Senior Hurling Championship. Holy Cross first, Toom second, Killadangan third, and Clonalty in fourth. To clear something up, Clonalty are guaranteed fourth place. They will be in the relegation semi-final, and they'll also be in the preliminary quarter-final because they're West champions. So for Clonalty to avoid the relegation, they'd actually have to go on and win the Dan Breen. So that, like, barring that happening, Clonalty will be in that relegation semi-final. And then, so round 3 is going to be Holy Cross versus Clonalty and Toom against Killadangan. So a draw would actually be enough for Toom to secure that second place. For Killadangan, a win is what they'll need to finish second. But Killadangan are North champions, so they have that preliminary quarter-final if they need it. But, and it's going to be a thing for even teams finishing second that you could get dragged into a preliminary quarter-final. So there's guaranteed one. So Clonalty haven't finished in the top 2, so there will be a preliminary quarter-final. If Toom are to beat Killadangan, then there will be 2 preliminary quarter-finals, because Killadangan will also need a preliminary quarter-final. And then the other game to worry about is Drummond-Inch and JK Brackens in round 3. If Drummond-Inch were to win that game, JK Brackens, as mid-champions, would get a preliminary quarter-final. So you could have 3, preliminary quarter-finals. And I have a feeling that, well, no, I was going to say that Toom might be exempt from one because they have divisional winners in their group, but Toom would probably have a 50-50 chance of getting JK Brackens in this scenario where JK Brackens lose out to Drummond-Inch in the final round. So there's a lot to sort through, but basically, and that's will be if Toom were to beat Killadangan, as we were saying. So, and that's something they've struggled to do in recent years, but that's a huge game. Sunday week at 5 o'clock in Dala. Huge game there for Toom and for Killadangan. So that's how Group 1 is looking. Group 2 now, we will move on, and lots to talk about in Group 2. Cashel Kincormac's beating Nina Erogue, and Thurles Sarsfield's beating Mullinahone. First game I have written down in front of me is Thurles 120, Sarsfield's 123, Mullinahone 215. This was a scrappy affair. Mullinahone were winning at half time, 1-8 to 9 points. They started the second half with a goal straight away. Martin Keogh, former Tip footballer, broke through. Incredibly hard man to stop when he gets going. He broke through, finished it low. That was the very start of the second half, 2-8 to 9 points at that point. So it was looking a bit shaky for Thurles, more than a bit shaky. Do you know, it was. And it wasn't kind of like Thurles were all over Mullinahone and Mullinahone were just scoring goals and being really efficient and Thurles were hitting a load of wides. It wasn't really like that. Mullinahone were right there with Thurles the whole way. And you know, there's only 2 points in it in injury time. And you know, what did it finish up? 26 points to 21, 5 points for a finish. Dar Stakelum hit a big free late on, but and Connor Stakelum scored a big score late on. Connor Stakelum was actually centre back. Ronan Maher was on the wing. Paddy Creedon seemed to be back out the field. Billy McCarthy and Tommy Maher were both used by the Thurles seniors, so they won't be part of the Premier Intermediate team for Thurles. So that's something worth mentioning. But Thurles very slow, disjointed at the start. They did hit a few wides early on. Mullinahone got a good start. It was 5 points to 3 after 10 minutes. Paddy Creedon had a good few runs. He broke through for a goal chance. Enda Keane stayed with him the whole way and just kind of half hooked him or stopped him from getting a clean shot away. And then the ball was cleared down the far end of the field. And Alan Curran is a massive man. And number, was he wearing number 14? I have the programme in front of me, but I'm nearly sure he was number 14. Huge man. He snapped the ball, played it off to Mikey O'Shea. He played it into one of the O'Dwyers, was it Owen O'Dwyer, and he buried it into the back of the net. But Alan Curran, a big handful. I was actually very impressed with a good few of Mullinahone's players. Now, sorry, now I'm just getting the... I was very impressed. Colin Shelley, I thought, was on a lot of ball. Martin Keogh, Conor Whelan, Sean Kern. He nailed some frees, missed some frees as well. I feel like Mullinahone will be a bit disappointed with some of the wides they had at times in that second half when they were kind of, particularly after that goal at the start of the second half. I feel like Mullinahone hit a few wides and allowed Thurles back into the game, and it was a Dar Stakelum goal after about 46, 48 minutes that gave Thurles the lead. Really nice finish from him, kind of broke through and it opened up and he just like stuck it in the top corner. No big wind up, no whatever, just bang, place it in the top corner, and a good goal for Dar Stakelum. So that was 114 to 2-9. But Mullinahone, as I said, got it back to 2, and you know, anything can happen late on a game when that happens. But it's a defeat for Mullinahone, and they're not gone yet. We'll go through all that, but you know, Thurles, it was kind of unconvincing, I'd say, if you were a Thurles Sarsfield supporter. And Thurles are going to be held at a different standard, I suppose. You know, people kind of consider Thurles, as I would have at the start of the campaign, as among the favourites. So they've had a slow start, but as people in Sarsfields would say, once they get into Semple Stadium, they can be a different team. So they'll be hoping that they can improve on their performances so far. Aidan McCormack, still not back. He hasn't featured in the county championship so far. And a quick mention for Harry Fitzgibbon, who went off with a neck injury, and I believe it was kind of more serious than first feared. So we wish Harry Fitzgibbon a speedy recovery there for Thurles Sarsfields. Just kind of an awkward collision. I'm trying to see who that might have been with. If I could find it, I'd only be guessing now at this stage, because it was 2 days ago that I watched this game back. But wishing Harry Fitzgibbon well. But overall, on a Thurles Sarsfields point of view, the win was what mattered, and it sets up a huge Group 2 round 3 encounter against Cashel Kincormac's. Cashel Kincormac's 21 points, Nina Erogue 213. This was a very windy day on Sunday down in Bursalee, as you saw with Brendan Cummins scoring the 2 puckouts. That was in Bursalee as well. That was a double header with this game. And Dermot McTiernan, the Nina goalie, hit a puck out wide in the first half as well. So huge breeze blowing down towards the town end in Bursalee, clubhouse end, town end, road end, whatever you want to call it. If you're looking out from the stand, the left-hand goals, wind was blowing down that way. Nina hit an awful lot of wides in that game. Now Cashel hit their fair share of wides as well. And I just think Cashel really had their number. In fairness to Cashel, they had performers all over the field. It was real good team performance from Cashel, and they're a team that's really used to playing with each other. Went on that run in the Munster Intermediate Championship last year, got all that extra time in, and that does count for something. And they were worthy winners for sure. Some brilliant scores there late on. Ger Brown got a great score, kind of the last score of the game for Cashel. Oisin O'Donoghue got a brilliant point out on the sideline in the first half. Conor O'Dwyer popped up for a couple of points. The two Connollys were scoring him from distance. Devin Ryan is always doing his bit. And yeah, like Cashel, if they just had their number, like Nina were trying, then they'd hit bad wides. And I just think the wides that Nina hit were just kind of deflating kind of wides, you know, and some of them were kind of fairly simple, but Nina were right there in it the whole game. Jake Morris scored a penalty in the first half, kind of broke onto Jake, and you know, he could have backed off and tried put it over the bar, but instead took on his man and he showed that burst of speed that he has and got in around the back. Was fouled, pulled to the ground, got a hand pass away to Philip Hickey, and Philip Hickey just got nailed. I think it was from, was it Con Bonner or Nathan Ryan? I think it was one of them that just kind of ran into him straight into his chest as he was trying to gather the ball, and it was a penalty. Jake stuck it low into the back of the net. But Cashel were much the better team in the second half. The aid of that wind made it very easy to shoot. Didn't make it very easy to score. But you know, if someone sat off around your own half back line, everyone was going to have the distance. It was just whether they had the accuracy, and for the most part, Cashel's players did. Cashel were 5-6 points up. Nina brought on Adam Carey full forward, and a ball lobbed in on him. He knocked it down to himself and buried it into the back of the net. And then after that, it started to get a little bit shaky. Cashel, as you would, were kind of dropping people back, and their clearances were going to 3 or 4 nearly free Nina men, it felt like. And Nina, I thought, they were about 3 points down as the clock ticked into 60 minutes, but there was always going to be 2 or 3 minutes played. And they had a few chances to just maybe pop it over the bar, and they found themselves kind of lobbing the ball in hope. And I just wonder, are they looking back on the game thinking, God, we probably could have taken our points a little bit earlier and just, brought it back to a point or two. Now, they did get a big chance, Nina, late on. I think this could have been, was it before the Adam Carey goal? Ball breaks into Jake Morris, and he kind of, whatever way he kind of turned, he suddenly found himself in a load of space that he could wind up on the 21-yard line. And you've probably seen the save, unbelievable save from Aaron Brown, diving to his right hand side, kind of up maybe head height, top corner kind of direction the ball was heading, and he kept it out, and just brilliant save, and he won a free out then after, and a huge moment in the game. But Jake is usually one to bang it off the ground like he did for the penalty. If you think Jake Morris goal in your head, you think Jake bursting through, running in 1v1 and lettering it low. This time he had time to kind of wind up, went high, and Aaron Brown kept it out. Brilliant save. Conor Dwyer was on Jake for large parts, done a good job. Sam O'Farrell struggled to kind of get into the game at times, I thought, particularly in the second half. He's on a good bit of ball in the first half, and it wasn't until late on where he kind of dropped back and a lot of those Cashel clearances were going down his way. It was only at that point where we kind of saw him on the ball. There was a lot of time where he was around the half forward line and just not getting onto the ball. Ben West was threatening. He had a big goal chance in the first half where he got it on the edge of the, maybe not on the edge of the square, but a little bit further out, and kind of turned and lettered it just over the crossbar. I've been impressed with Ben West so far this year from any time I've seen him play. But yeah, late on, Nina lobbing ball in, Cashel held out, Ger Brown got that big score, and a huge win for Cashel Kincormac's, 2 from 2 in the Dan Breen Championship after coming up last year. So we'll have a look at Group 2 now and how that looks. So Cashel top on 4 points, Nina and Thurles both on 2 points, Mullinhone at the bottom. So it's Mullinhone against Nina next, and then Cashel against Thurles. So a quick little insight into the permutations here. So Cashel against Thurles. Thurles obviously need to win that game to go through, and if Mullinhone were to beat Nina and Thurles beat Cashel, Thurles would actually top the group because they'd have the head-to-head on Cashel. But if Nina were to beat Mullinhone and Thurles were to beat Cashel, Nina and Thurles would all be on 4 points, and then it would go down to score difference in the 3 games between those teams. So as I have it, for Thurles to leapfrog Nina and Cashel in that score difference, Thurles would have to beat Cashel by 4 points or more to go through. and finish in the top 2 places. So something to keep in mind. If Nina were to beat Mullinahone and if Thurles were to beat Cashel, Thurles would have to win by at least 4 points to go through. Otherwise it would be Cashel and Nina who would go through. But Mullinahone beat Nina the last time they played. Nina got 2 or 3 lads sent off that day. That was only a couple of years ago. So Nina will be very wary, and this Mullinahone team have an awful lot of quality. I was very impressed from what I saw from them against Thurles Sarsfields. It's not kind of a, oh, these lads are gritty now and they'll make it hard. Like, they'll do that, but they have a lot of good hurlers as well, and lads that are very quick, powerful runners. So as I was saying last week about Drummond needing to be careful against Lura, Nina will have to be careful in 2 weeks' time for sure against Mullinahone. And Mullinahone, there is a possibility Mullinahone could go through as well. I'd have to look at the score difference for that. But if Cashel were to beat Thurles and Mullinahone were to beat Nina, 3 teams would be on 2 points, and it goes to score difference there. So we don't want to get too bogged down on the score differences and what could happen in 2 weeks' time just yet. But we'll get to that in due course. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. I don't know if you're noticing if my voice sounds a little bit different today. I got my tooth taken out yesterday, and that kind of feeling is still there at the minute. So I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. Much needed, much needed. But right, we're 31 minutes in and we've only talked about 4 games. Let's pick it up. Right, Group 3, Drummond Inch 324, Lura 320. As I said, not sure how my predictions have gone, but I'm happy with my prediction for this game because I predicted Drum to win, but I said that they'd have to be careful, that this Lura team has plenty of scores in them and goals in them, and that's how it played out. 1-12 each at half-time. Cian Hogan 1-3 in the first half. He was brilliant. Owen McIntyre set up 2 goals. One of them was for Cian Hogan. Shamey Callan got a goal straight away after. Shamey, at one stage in this game, showed an unbelievable turn of pace. His goal was Tom Duggan was on him, and Tom Duggan just slipped as the ball was coming in, and Shamey was in then and made no mistake. Possibly, he definitely took the maximum amount of steps, but he was probably just about okay. Cormac Fitzpatrick had a good game. He scored a goal straight away in the second half. That was, as I have written down there, great run from Shamey. It was kind of like, wait, whoa, Shamey is still very quick. He got the ball outside the 45 and just took off and opened it up, hand pass off to Cormac Fitz, and he finished it. But great to see Callan stay moving, still moving so quick. Lura took the lead on the 46th minute with a Bonner Maher goal, rebound from Donegal O'Mara. Donegal O'Mara was a huge threat throughout that game. Young player, really quick, lots of hurling in him. And he took a shot, Owen Collins saved it, and Bonner was there to bat it back into the net. And then Drum came back into it once more. Drum had some brilliant performers. What I have it written down there, David Collins levels it with his 6th point. But Donegal O'Mara got a goal himself on 58 minutes. That was a lovely kind of 1-2 between him and Owen McIntyre. Owen McIntyre got it kind of on the 21 and spun while falling and popped the hand pass back to Donegal O'Mara, and he finished a low past Collins. And that was level on 58 minutes. And Chris Fogarty got a free a minute later to give Lura the lead. So Lura were winning this game late on. And then David Collins levelled it with a point. And they got another point then, Drum. I can't remember who exactly got it to go a point up. And that was deep in injury time. And Lura pushed up and were trying for a goal, and they overturned Drum on the 45 deep in injury time. And speaking to Ken Hogan after, he was kind of saying that if they just took it on and ran with the ball, they could have tried to, Drum would have probably had to been forced to foul them kind of thing, and they could have got it free, but they just lost possession and the ball was lumped long kind of on a clearance, and Cormac Cahill found himself in one-on-one with the goalkeeper for about 30 yards, buried it into the back of the net, and that was the last score of the game. So that was a really close game. Drum getting out with the win, 324 to 320. Lura had 12 wides on the day as well, but it's an unfortunate one for Lura because they are guaranteed bottom place in their group, so they'll have to prepare for the relegation semi-finals. But some really, really nice hurlers there in Lura. Conor Kennedy, young corner forward, was very good. Cian Hogan, as I said, particularly in that first half, was very good too. Yeah, Donegal Mara was one that really caught the eye as well. For Drummond Inch, as I mentioned, Shamie Callanan with that turn of pace, Cormac Fitz with a goal. And who did I say got the other goals? Cormac Fitz, oh yeah, and Cormac Cahill, of course, the last bucket of the game. So that's how that game went. But happy with my synopsis or prediction for that game, and it was relatively accurate. The other game in this group, Lockmore Castellini 232, JK Brackens 220. This game was on TG Carr. Just what a performance from Lockmore. I think you could say there's an element of psychological stuff with Brackens when it comes to Lockmore. Not sure if they've ever beaten them in hurling, so that's always going to be kind of hanging over you to a certain extent. But Lockmore it was just kind of, what's the word? No resistance in that first half. Like 119, it kind of felt like everything Lockmore were doing was going over the bar. Mossy McGrath got the goal early on. Andrew Ormond got the first score of the game for JK Brackens. That was a goal. Bit of a gift. Kieran Connolly's clearance was straight to a JK Brackens man. He played it into Andrew Ormond and he was in 1v1. But as I have written down here, Lockmore just made it look very easy. They're very accurate early on. They hit very little wides. And it's probably the style that Brackens play. Some of the scores they got were brilliant. Like, it looks really good when it comes off, with the ball through the hands, the running game that they're all so comfortable with. But when it breaks down, you just wonder, do Brackens have a plan B, in terms of an out ball, a long ball? Like for Lockmore Castellini, we all know how good they work together, linking up with each other, and how much games they've played together, and how just natural that all looks. But sometimes Lockmore just have to clear a ball long, and they have the likes of John McGrath, Liam McGrath, Mossy McGrath, these lads up there that will just work and win that dirty ball. And that's not a slight on JK Brackens to say maybe they don't have those players like that. I don't think many teams, if any teams, have the players like John McGrath that can just win those dirty balls and hold up possession. And it's kind of like almost a hold up play in soccer where you're getting up the field. Lockmore just have players that can get you up the field. Noel McGrath was shooting the lights out as well. Ned Walsh had a goal chance saved. I made note of a Brian McGrath score on 36 minutes where he got the ball kind of just inside the Bracken 65, out near the sideline at the kind of near side as you're going into the field in Templetoohy, and looking down to the far end, and there was just nobody near him. As in, he got the ball, kind of fumbled it, was kind of rushing himself to rise it, and then realised there's absolutely no one near me here. So he's able to rise it slowly, steady himself, and hit it over the bar. So there was definitely forms of system malfunction there with Brackens at times, but they did score 220, but you're going to win very little games conceding 232. Paul McCahey got the goal, a diagonal ball to John McGrath. He catches it, passes it on to Paul McCahey. He scored. Andrew Ormond got the second goal for JK Brackens. It was a Kieran O'Shea shot that came back off the post, went across the face of goals and back to Andrew Ormond, hit the far post, let's say, came back to Andrew Ormond, and he finished it. So Group 3, after round 3, this is how it looks. I already have it on the screen. Make sure my head isn't in the way for those watching. Lockmore, top of the group, guaranteed top of the group now. Lura, guaranteed bottom, and it's going to be Lura against Lockmore next. So Lockmore can rest up. They'll be delighted with that. They've football next weekend, I think against JK Brackens again, so they can focus on that and then build themselves up for a quarter final at the end of September, because they're guaranteed first. They don't have to worry about finishing second and possibly being dragged into a preliminary quarter final. So next up then is Drummond Inch against JK Brackens, and this is very similar to Toom and Killadangan. If Drum win or draw the game, as I have it there, if Drum win or draw the game, Drummond Inch will go through in second, and Brackens have that preliminary quarter final. If Brackens beat Drum, then Drum are finished for the year, and Brackens go on to finish second in the group and have to kind of wait and see, do they get the preliminary quarter final or not. So that is how Group 3 in the Dan Breen Championship is. Group 4 now, and this was a couple of games here. The first one I have down as Bursley and Rossgray. This was the first of the double header in Templemore. Truth be told, the standard of this game compared to Holy Cross against Killadangan was just kind of, I wouldn't say worlds apart, but it was just a completely different game, way more open. way more scoring in the Holy Cross Killadangan game. This Bursley Roscrea game was a tense game, and in all honesty, Roscrea will be kicking themselves that they didn't win this game. Bursley, you could argue, could have got away with one there, because well into injury time, it looked like the game was over. One last play, Evan Fitzpatrick gets it out on the sideline, 45 yards out from goal, facing towards the clubhouse end in Templemore, and he done so well. He knew he was never going to be able to get a shot away, because there was too many Bursley lads on him. So he just put the ball down the hurley and he just stead running, and see what would happen. Ran down the end line, ball flicked off his hurley, a 65 to Roscrea to win the game. And Shane Fletcher just mishit it, just hit it kind of crossbar height. In fairness to James McCormack in the Bursley goals, he had to deal with it and just get something on it, because it was coming at that awkward kind of trajectory just under the crossbar. But you know, Shane Fletcher had that chance. That was it, like to win the game. It ends in a draw. The goal for Roscrea came from Jason Gilmartin. That was in the first half. Long ball down to the edges where it broke off to Jason Gilmartin. Like any good corner forward, he was there for the break. Central position just inside the 14. Catch low into the back of the net. But for Bursley, they didn't have Ray McCormack, but they did have Dan McCormack starting the game, which was a help. But you just kind of felt watching Bursley, like JD Devaney was brilliant again, 5 points from play. And you kind of felt like he was really efficient, that any kind of ball that went his way, he was scoring. But Bursley, you just probably are a bit guilty of not getting the ball in enough. You know, there was an awful lot of passing around the back for Bursley, and like lateral stuff, like puck out to the corner back, then into the full back. And you know, it's a first year of a new management, you know, so they're trying to implement this style, I think. But you know, that's always hard to do, and you could see it breaking down a little bit at times. So Jerry Kelly was the main ball winner when push came to shove late on. It was a long ball, puck outs down on top of Jerry Kelly, and he was winning an awful lot of them. Ray McCormack came on late on, and this was when Roscrea were winning by a point, so Bursley were down by a point, and Ray McCormack came on, and we noted on commentary that he's in a bad way, like he's limping around, he doesn't look comfortable at all. And we were kind of questioning, geez, why did they bring him on if he's like this? And then we got our answer in you know, just near the end of the game. Ray McCormack gets in the midst of a ruck and wins the ball, and they win it free. But it was because he won a really dirty ball, a load of people around the ball in the 45 kind of, and Patrick Ryan put the free over the bar to level the game, and that was the last score of the game. So huge intervention there by Ray McCormack. But Roscrea will be sick that they didn't win that game, particularly with that 65 at the end. But that's just how it goes. I thought Connor Sheedy had a really good game. That full back line for Roscrea, brilliant, particularly in the first half. Aidan Booth, Shane Davis, Luke Ceci. Connor Sheedy really good, kind of sweeping up, getting on a lot of ball. Alan Tynan, influential as ever. And yeah, I just think Roscrea will feel that was one they definitely left behind them. The other game in that group, Mike Carkey Burris 420, Killer 1 McDonough's 24 points. No Thomas Cleary for Killer 1, no David Costigan or Bill Flanagan for Mike Carkey. David Costigan injured, Bill Flanagan suspended after the red card against Roscrea. Mike Carkey goals win games, you know, class team goal in the 7th minute. Kieran Morris finished it off. He got another goal a few minutes later. Joe Egan with a brilliant run and popped it off. Joe Maher got the third goal. That was on the 26th minute. Max Hackett again and Joe Maher both running through the middle of that Killer 1 defence and finishing it off. Big loss for Killer 1 was Jerry Cal going off injured just before half time, and Killer 1 have a really, really good 15, but they probably don't have the squad depth of a Mike Harkey Burris in terms of what they can bring in. And it's just because Jerry Cal is so influential. He's an impossible player to replace. And likewise, Thomas Cleary, just for his ball winning ability. And I spoke about it kind of in the preview podcast about the short fields maybe suiting Killer 1 and getting long ball down on top of the likes of Thomas Cleary and Keano Kelly. Keano Kelly started the game on fire. He 3 or 4 points in the first kind of 15-20 minutes. But goals win games, 3-9 to 10 points at half time. And then Jack Hayes got a goal 30 seconds into the second half. A long puck out, Kieran Morris caught it, and Jack Hayes hit it low. Paulie Williams was actually unlucky in the goals. He got something on it, and it kind of came off him so quick, and it just hit off the post and in. Reece Shelley's puck outs throughout were brilliant. He actually nearly got caught in the first half playing a cross 21 ball. He kind of hit it straight to Keane Darcy, and Keane Darcy actually hit it wide, kind of going for a goal. He kind of hit it too high. It would have been a point if it was on target, but it was wide. But Killer One got it back to 2 points. In fairness to them, they stuck at it the whole way through, but it wasn't to be. And 420 to 24 point win for Moycarkey Burris, and a massive win for them. They're guaranteed top of the group now as they take on Bursalee next, and it's Roscrea against Killer One. So for Bursalee, can they go through? The answer is yes. So what Bursalee needs to happen is they need Roscrea to beat Killer One, and then Bursalee need to beat Moycarkey Burris. That would put Bursalee on 3 points, Roscrea on 3 points, and then it will go down to score difference between overall. So at the minute, Roscrea's score difference is -6 and Bursalee's is -7. So that would be a case of Bursalee needing to beat Moycarkey Burris by more than Roscrea would beat Killer One. So that's how that works. Moycarkey's sitting pretty, first place. They don't have to worry about it. They can't be caught. If Killer One get to 4 points, Moycarkey have them on head-to-head. So that Killer One versus Roscrea game is huge. If Roscrea win that game, they're into the knockout stages. And that's if Moycarkey Burris were to beat Bursalee. So there's still a lot to play for in that group between Killer One, Roscrea and Bursalee, which feel Bursalee are probably on the back foot now. They're taking on Moycarkey Burris, but Moycarkey Burris could rest lads or anything like that, so it's not over yet in that group. So that is where we are at in the senior championship. I will have to go way faster now through the rest of the games, which I will. But my predictions. So I predicted Killadangan to win. They did not win. I need to put all this in the middle just to make that look more readable. There we go. Can you all see that? Yeah. So I predicted Toom to win. They won the game. So that's 1 from 2. I predicted Nina. Cashel won the game. I predicted Thurles. Thurles won the game. I predicted I predicted Lockmore Castellini. They won the game. Predicted Drummond Inch and they won. So, okay, we're not doing too bad. I predicted Killer One and they did not win the game. And I predicted Bursalee and it was a draw. So, let's see, what are we? We are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 8. It's the Dan Breen Championship. It's a fool's game trying to predict it, but that's how it goes. Let's move on quickly to the Premier Intermediate Championship and run through the games. And a final word. As far as I know, Holy Cross and have gone in and joined Lockmore Castellini as favourites now in the bookmakers for the Dan Breen Championship. And what do I always say? You need to kind of win stuff in hurling, apart from obviously having a good team, good goalkeeper and a good free taker. Dara Woods, very good free taker. Ewan Burke, very good goalkeeper. Likewise with Moycarkey Burris, of course, Reece Shelley, Kieran Morris is lights out on the frees, and Lockmore Castellini, John McGrath is lights out, and Aidan McGrath is kind of underrated, I think, in his abilities. And he's scoring points now from play. He scored a point from play, actually, in that game against Brackens, which I forgot to mention. So that's how the senior championship is looking. Let's run down through the Premier Intermediate Championship results. We have Group 1, big win for Sean Tracy's. They beat Moyne Temple-Toohey 119 to 211, and if anything, that scoreline flatters Moyne Temple-Toohey. They scored 2 late goals. Grode O'Connor got a 21-yard free, and Ben Ryan got a goal as well. Those were in injury time. A class performance from Sean Tracy's all over the field. Moyne Temple-Toohey not helped by no Paul Maher in the goals. I didn't realise in the first round, when I was watching that game back, when he was running back from the penalty, he got a shoulder from Conor Gleeson from Moyne Temple-Toohey, and he actually done damage to his collarbone, Paul Maher, the goalkeeper for Moyne Temple-Toohey. So he's going to be out for them for, you'd imagine, a prolonged period of time. So that's a huge loss for them. His puck outs, his goal scoring abilities from penalties and things like that, and his shot stopping is going to be lost for Moyne Temple-Toohey. Paddy Deegan got the goal for Sean Tracy's 12 minutes in. Conor Bowe was actually lucky to escape a red card, I thought anyway. Kind of ball in over his head, and he was in the kind of wing forward position, centre forward position. ball in over his head and the defender, and as he was turning, he just kind of swung the hurley back and hit the knee of the Tracy's player. Linesman seemed to have a good view of it anyway, and it was just a yellow card, so he's a little bit lucky that was just before half time. But Tracy's got some class scores in the second half. Patrick Dawson and Shawnee Ryan Rogers both got scores from the sideline, and Patrick Dawson got a brilliant from the sideline, as in from play from the sideline, but Patrick Dawson actually scored a sideline ball as well, so that's a huge win for Sean Tracy's, massive win. And as I said, the scoreline probably flatters Moyne Temple more than anything with those 2 late goals. The other game in Group 1, Girton Who Glengould 323, Thurles Sarsfields 118. It seemed to be comfortable enough for Girton Who. We didn't see this game now, but they're 2-14 to 9 points up at half time. That's 11 points in it, and it finished up 32 points to 21. So it remained an 11-point game for a finish for Girton Who Glengould. And Thurles Sarsfields, as I mentioned earlier, they used Billy McCarthy and Tommy Maher, so their second team has lost a few now. So for the Group 1 of the Seamus Arena, this is how it's looking. Girton Who are in top place, Thurles Sarsfields are in second, Sean Tracy's in third, and Moyne Temple in fourth. The fixtures for that is it's Girton Who against Sean Tracy's. So Girton Who against Sean Tracy's and Thurles against Moyne. So no one is guaranteed in or out yet in that group, because Sean Tracy's could beat Girton Who and get to 4 points, and Thurles could beat Moyne and get to 4 points. Likewise, Moyne could beat Thurles, and Sean Tracy's could beat Girton Who. Girton Who could beat Sean Tracy's, and in that instance, Thurles, Sean Tracy's and Moyne would all be on 2 points. So still all to play for in Group 1. Group 1 of the Seamus O'Reen. Let's go on to Group 2 now in the Seamus O'Reen. Big win for Borlaugh Douala. They beat Éire Óg Anacarty 122 to 217. 116 for Tossie Ryan from Borlaugh. So just 6 points for the rest of the team. But a brilliant performance from him. Derek Kelly got a goal early on. It was a mishit shot that dropped short. It was either him or Aidan Griffin who flicked it, but it was ended up flicked into the hand of Derek Kelly. He finished it low. 112 to 12 points at half time. I have it written down here, a few harsh calls against Éire Óg Anacarty. They got called for steps, that was a little bit harsh. They got called for a throw, that looked a bit harsh. They got called for throwing it up and catching it, where your man was kind of on the blind side of the referee, and it looked like he touched it off his hurley and into his hand. And Éire Óg Anacarty will feel very aggrieved, I think. Borlaughan's goal came from a penalty. Seamus Kirby wins the penalty. And I have steps ? Written. It was one of those kind of 50-50 ones where he went running with the ball, was being held up. Was he being fouled? I'm not too sure. Then he went to ground, inside the box, and the ref gave a penalty. Bounced low in front of Darren Mooney. He might be disappointed that he didn't save it, but as I say, hit the ball low off the ground, and even if it's at the goalkeeper, you have a much better chance of it going in than if you were to hit it at a goalkeeper head height. So that was Tossie Ryan. He finished it. That made it 120 to 215 after 54 minutes. So that was a lead of 2 points for Borlaugh Douala at that stage. And as the Éire Óg Anacarty can have the grievances with some decisions that didn't go their way, ultimately Éire Óg Anacarty had a lot of chances to win that game. They hit 4 bad wides late on. Darren Mooney did make a good save late on as well. Unreal Tossie Ryan score from the sideline, a short sideline back to him, worked to Tossie Ryan, and in front of the Borlaugh subs, he put it over the bar. It was a big moment late in the game, and there was 2 points. I had that written down. It was 2 points in it in injury time, but sure, it finished up a 2-point game. So no real need of me writing that down. But huge win for Borlaugh Douala, and that actually guarantees them top place in the group. And that's because the Silvermines beat Templederry in the other game. Silvermines 121, Templederry 112. There was a class Sean Ryan goal in this game, stole it off the defender. Jason Ford scored the goal for the Mines, kind of breaking through, batting it in from distance. I always get mixed up if it's Oisin or Connor. It's Connor Murphy in goals for Silvermines. He made a good save from a penalty late on. It was Aina Murray who took it, and he kind of walking into it, he was standing back from the ball, walking into it and roll-rised it. Not a technique you see all too often, but brilliant save by Conor Murphy. I thought Luke O'Brien had a very good game for the Silvermines. Limi got 3 scores as well, watching back that game, and he seemed to do well. So that's a huge win for the Mines over their local rivals. And as my father said, I think I might have went with Tipperary to win this game, because I just wondered who would marshal Sean Ryan, but he was really well marshalled. He did get that goal, but I think Luke O'Brien was on him for periods, done really, really well. John Kendi got sent off for Templederry kind of with 10 minutes to go, 2 yellow cards. Bit of a comical second yellow. He kind of just booted Luke O'Brien. Like, I don't know, it was just kind of one of those kind of, it looked more comical than malicious or anything like that. But he was the last one, he went off. But Silvermines full value for their win. And as I was saying, I think I backed or predicted Templederry to win the game. But Silvermines won, and my father had said, Templederry always find it hard to beat the Mines, and as I said on the previous podcast, those traditions hold firm. So let's have a quick look at Group 2 of the Premier Intermediate Championship and where we stand there. So Borland Douala are through, group winners, feet up for the third round. Templederry Kenyans, after being relegated from senior last year, they will go into the relegation semi-finals now in the Premier Intermediate grade, and they can feel aggrieved. Well, not aggrieved, but like they were so close in that Anacarthy game and were just beaten, and now they lose to their rivals, the Mines, and now they find themselves in relegation. Such is the cutthroat nature of the Tipperary Hurling Championship. The Mines now against Aero Anacarthy. A draw will send the Mines through, or a win, and for Aero Anacarthy, a win will send them into the knockout stages. So that is one of the key fixtures in the grade come round 3 of the Seamus O'Reen Championship. Let's go to Group 3 now and how those games went, and immediately my heart kind of goes ugh, because Burgess, we were beaten by Upperchurch Strumban 124 to 16 points. Luke Shannon was very good for Upperchurch, particularly on the frees. He seemed to be nailing them throughout. Colm Ryan was sent off for Upperchurch late on, a straight red card. Burgess goalkeeper Ronan Tucker was sent off in that kind of same kind of melee, and Owen Hogan got a straight red card for Burgess. This was all real late on in the game, so it's going to have a knock-on effect for both teams, but particularly for, I need to check, for both teams, because both teams have a lot to play for in the final round. The goal for Upperchurch came late on. I believe it was Pat Short who flicked it into the back of the net. I think it might have been last puck of the game kind of thing. So the scoreboard maybe flatters Upperchurch a little bit, but they were full value for their win. We just didn't get up to the standards required from us on Saturday inside in Tumivara. So we'll need to up it for sure in the final round against Moneygall, because Moneygall had a brilliant performance against Ballina. 219 Ballina scored, Moneygall 316. Owen Duhan, brilliant in this game. He scored 2-8 or something like that, both of his goals coming from play. The first goal was Paddy Fogarty, such a good runner with the ball, gives it off to Aidan Ryan, and another absolute flyer. He drilled it across, or kind of floated one more so than drilled across the 21. Lovely pass to Owen Duhan, and he finished from close range. Moneygall's second goal was a mistake from Simon Grace, the goalkeeper, which is not something you say too often. He actually hit the puck out straight to the full forward, I think it was Tig White, and he played it into Owen Duhan, and he pulled on it into the back of the net. So that was 2-10 to 9 points on 28 minutes. It was 2-10 to 10 at half time in favour of Moneygall. Ballina's first goal came from a long ball from Michael Breen. The keeper caught it. That was Mark Fanning, isn't it? I'm nearly sure, yeah, Mark Fanning. I actually thought he can be annoyed that this goal was given. It looked to me that he was catching the ball on just inside the edge of his square, and it looked to me like a Ballina fella just kind of collided with him, and the ball came out of his hand and rolled into the back of the net. So I think Moneygall can feel a little bit aggrieved that wasn't overturned. It was level after 40 minutes, Moneygall with just 2 points in the opening 16-17 minutes of the second half, so Ballina really came back into it. A brilliant goal in the 53rd minute. That was a long ball caught by Owen Duhan, popped it off to Adam Hogan, and that was a goal. So Owen Duhan, as I said, scored 2, set up the other, and it was just a really good performance from him. But a goal straight away after that down the far end of the field. Owen Power got onto a hand pass from Josh Egan, who kind of won a dirty ball in the centre of the 21 and ran towards the defenders, popped it off to Owen Power, and he leathered it into the back of the net. Then Shawnee Kennelly hit the point to go 1-up for Moneygall. Shawnee Kennelly, we did not see an awful lot of him in that game. Watching back on it, he was kind of he could have frustrated character at times. He was being well marshalled, not getting an awful lot of ball. But Shawnee Kennelly, top class player. When you needed him, he got that chance to go 1-up, and from the middle of the field sent it over the bar to go 1-up. But it was actually Stephen O'Brien who came off the bench and levelled it for Ballina with a good score. David Kelly, big injury worry for Ballina. How good has he been this season? And throughout the last kind of couple of years since he's been kind of injury free. But this didn't look good. It was it looked non-contact. It looked innocuous enough, which is never what you want to be saying about an injury, because they tend to be the bad ones. But David is a physio himself, and I'm sure he knows what the issue is. So hopefully David Kelly is better than what that looked, because he'd to be helped off the field and that sort of thing. So he would be a big loss for Ballina, but hopefully David Kelly recovers quickly and can feature for Ballina, because he's been so good throughout this championship, and he's a brilliant footballer as well, and Ballina going well in that too. So Ballina did get a chance to win the game. Matthew Power, who's a very good free taker, his free late on just dropped short, and that was it then. It was from inside his own 65, so it was landed right on the crossbar, and I think the referee had given a free for a square ball. So draw game had finished. That was good for Burgess, because I think if Moneygall or if Ballina won that game, if Moneygall won that game, we would have been out, would we? Is that right? Because Ballina bet us. Yeah. So thankfully that was a draw, and we live to fight another day. So it's Burgess against Moneygall next. For us, that's a relegation quarter final. If we win that, we finish third, and that's it. If Moneygall win, Burgess are into relegation, and Moneygall will be up to 4 points, and that will guarantee them progression, barring an Upperchurch and Ballina draw, because that would mean 3 teams will be on 4 points. That's a whole other thing to try and work out. Upperchurch Drumban against Ballina, that's very simple. Winner tops the group. Very simple there. And if it's a draw and Moneygall beat Burgess, then it goes to the score difference between the 3 teams. So still relatively all to play for, nothing settled in that group yet. A Moneygall and a Ballina win would mean Upperchurch would be out. So let's just see how that plays out in Group 3. Group 4 now of the Premier Intermediate. What a performance from St Mary's. 327 to Clonakilly's 14 points. Niall Hochter with the first goal. It was 1-8 to no score after 14 minutes. I was actually watching that game here while I was getting ready to go off and to the doubleheader in Templemore on Saturday afternoon. And after 15 minutes, I turned the game off because I had to go, but it was game over pretty much. It was 1-8 to no score at that time. 116 to 8 points at half time. Peter McGarry got a goal on the 43rd minute to make it 220 to 10 points, and Rory Lahey got a goal as well in that second half, bounced it in low past the goalkeeper. Just what a performance. Like St Mary's 11 points against Killinall is all they could muster in that game, and then they come out here and shoot the lights out. 327 to Clonakilly's 14 points. Clonakilly will be mightily disappointed, because they had a really good game against Carrick Swan and were right there throughout. So this is a big underperformance from Clonakilly, but fair play to St Mary's for just bouncing back from the disappointing performance in the first round with that brilliant game in the second round against Clonakilly. And then quickly, Carrick Swan 316 to Killinall's 22 points. A repeat of the South final, but a much better game than the South final. The game started off with a ball across the edge of the square, and it was fallen to, was it Aaron Dunn, I think? He's the full forward anyway. There's a good chance he was around there. Maybe it wasn't him actually, but a Killinall defender kind of came through the back of the Carrick Swan man. Penalty, Aaron O'Halloran buries it. Then Stephen Tobin got the goal off a rebound. The Callum Lanigan shot was saved brilliantly from Bubbles, but flicked back into the net by Stephen Tobin. So after 7 minutes, it was 2 goals to 2 points. At half time, it was 2-7 to 12. So a 1 point game at the half. Second half, Carrick Swan picked off some great scores. Stephen Tobin got one out by the sideline. Callum Walsh got a very good one as well. And another goal from Stephen Tobin on the 34th minute. He caught a long ball and hit it in low off the AstroTurf, 3-9 to 13 points. was the score when that goal hit the back of net. But Kilnall fought, and they're right there the whole way to the end, and just losing out by 3 points for a finish. So the win for Carrick Swan, let's see where that leaves them. So nothing settled in that group yet, because it's Carrick Swan against St Mary's next and Killinall against Clonakilty. So still has to be figured out there. Clonakilty would have to beat Killinall and hope Carrick Swan beats St Mary's, and then you've that situation where they're on 2 points, but Carrick Swan's or Clonakilty's score difference is very, very poor. So I think Clonakilty might be all but summoned to the relegation. I'd have to go through it again, but with their score difference minus 27 at the minute, that's going to be hard to kind of win anything on score difference. So, but what could happen is if St Mary's beat Carrick Swan and then Clonakilty beat Killinall straight up, Clonakilty will be safe and Killinall will go to relegation. So plenty to happen in that group. Carrick Swan top it at the minute, but Killinall and St Mary's can both get to 4 points, and that would mean the three-way score difference it would go down to. So still all to play for in that game, in that group, but of course Carrick Swan can't be in relegation, so at worst can't be in relegation because they're on 4 points, but at worst they have a preliminary quarter-final because they're the South champions. Right, let's go down through how our predictions worked out. We predicted Gartnahoe to win, they did. We predicted Moyne Temple Toohey, so Sean Tracy's followers and supporters of the podcast can have a right laugh at me there. That was a brilliant performance from them. We predicted Éire and Carthy to win that game. Borlahan won the game. We predicted Temple to beat the Mines. The Mines won that game. We're doing terrible here. We predicted Ballina to beat Moneygall. That game was a draw. And we predicted Burgess to beat Upperchurch, as we always do. Predict Burgess to win. Upperchurch won that game. That's 1 out of 6, lads. That's shocking. We predicted Carrick Swan to win that game. They did. And we predicted St Mary's. So that is what? 1, 2, 3 out of 8. Absolute chronic bad, but that's the Seamus Arene. Like it's not easy to predict these games. Right, let's fly down through the intermediate championship. We just have a couple of results here. I didn't get to see pretty much any of these games. Cap White 125, Skeena-Rinkey 124. Cap White only took the lead on 53 minutes. Skeena-Rinkey were up by 3 at half time, and then they scored 1-1 straight away to start the second half. So Skeena-Rinkey were actually up by 7 points at the start of that second half. So Kappa White done really well to reel them back in and win it for a finish. Huge win for Kappa White. Massive win for Mull Rovers, just up from the Junior A Championship last year. And they beat Portroe 325 to 310. I'll have to say a big well done to JP Grace, Burgess man, who's coaching Mull Rovers. That's a huge win for Mull Rovers, and a hat-trick for Kevin Grace in that game. Mull Rovers were up by a point at half-time, so it just must have been an unbelievable second-half performance from the Monroe men, but 325 to 310 was the score there. Let me pull up the groups in the Intermediate Championship. It's called the Michael Maher Cup, so that should find it, yeah. So the fixtures to come are Kappa White are playing Mull Rovers, so that means nothing is sorted in that group yet. For Kappa White against Mull Rovers, if Mull Rovers were to win that game, then, and if Skeena-Rinkey were to beat Portroe, you'd have 3 teams on 4 points. You'd have to obviously fancy Kappa White to beat Mull Rovers, but you don't know with that performance from Mull Rovers. 15-point win, that's just massive. I think Willie Barry, I saw someone say Willie Barry got 14 points in that game. He was really impressive in that game against Portroe. So Kappa White are a very formidable team at this grade. So that makes me think that Skeena-Rinkey obviously put in a brilliant performance as well to put it up to them like they did. So Kappa White against Mull Rovers, if Kappa White win or draw, they top the table no matter what. If Kappa White, and then Skeena-Rinkey against Portroe. So for Portroe, for them to get through, they need to beat Skeena-Rinkey, and then that's who they're playing next. They need to beat Skeena-Rinkey, and they need Kappa White to beat Mull Rovers. So it's very much still there for Portroe. The only thing with Port now is the score difference is going to be really against them, because they'd have to beat they'd have to win by a good few points now. I'll have to do it up. I'll have it all for sure on next week's podcast, but Portroe will need to win by a fairly substantial amount, or at least 7 or 8 points anyway, and then they need Capawhite to beat Mull Rovers for Port to go through. So let's see how all that plays out. We'll go on to Group 2 in the Intermediate Championship. Knockavilla Doneski Kickham's were 220 to 19-point winners over Clounty Rossmore's second team, and Ballingarry were 218 to 14-point winners over Drummondinch's second team. Ben Ivers and Michael Ivers with the goals there, and no Dylan Walsh for Ballingarry in that game, so I haven't heard updates in terms of his injury and how short or long term that is, but he did not feature in that game for Ballingarry. Let's look at Group 2. So you have Knockavilla top, Ballingarry second, Clounty third, and Drum fourth. And it is Drummondinch against Knockavilla, Doneski Kickham's next. So that means Knockavilla guaranteed first place in that group, Drummondinch guaranteed relegation and guaranteed fourth place. So it's a straight shootout between Ballingarry and Clounty's second team to see who finishes second. Let's go to Group 3 of the Intermediate Championship. Big win for Bursakane, 323 to 316 winners over Carrickdavins, and a massive win for Arvale Rovers, 22 points to 17 win over Newport. Arvale were up by a point at half time, 5-point win for the finish. And where that leaves us in Group 3 of the Intermediate Championship, the final round of games is Bursakane against Newport. So Bursakane guaranteed top spot in that group, Newport guaranteed fourth. So Newport heading to the relegation semi-finals. They were relegated from Premier Intermediate last year, and now they'll face a relegation semi-final in the intermediate grade. So not how they would have wanted their return to this grade to go, but that's the way it's gone so far. They play Bursakane next in what is a dead rubber, and then Arvale Rovers against Carrickdavins, a key fixture in round 3 of the Intermediate Championship there to see who finishes second. Group 4 now of the County Intermediate Hurling Championship. The results were Golden Kilfeacle 225, Kilsheelan Kilcash 220. Golden were up by 10 points in injury time. Kilsheelan got a few late goals, or got 1-2 anyway, late on to kind of put a bit of a gloss on the score, but seemed to be a brilliant performance from Golden. They're up by 4 points at the half. It was 5 for a finish, but as I said, they were up by 10 late on. And the other game then in Group 4, Shannon Rovers 3-13, Ballybacon Grange 1-14. Brendan Cummins for Ballybacon scored 2 points. I'm sure you saw the clips on that on social media. He's 50, some yoke, scoring 2 points from puck outs with the strength of that breeze and the strength of his puck. But Shannon Rovers get back on the wagon with that win, 3-14 to 1-14. Let's see how that group looks now. We have Golden in first place, Kilsheelan second, Rovers third, and Ballybacon fourth. The fixtures then, we have Golden Kilfeacle against Shannon Rovers, and then we have Ballybacon Grange against Kilsheelan Kilcash. So Kilsheelan will be favourites to beat Ballybacon in that for sure, but they still have to go out and do it. Shannon Rovers will look to take on Golden Kilfeacle. And there is a scenario where if Shannon Rovers were to beat Golden and Kilsheelan were to beat Ballybacon, you'd have that 3 teams on 4 points and it would go to score difference. But Golden Kilfeacle looking good so far. Shannon Rovers are North champions, so they do have the preliminary quarter-final should they need it. But yeah, that is pretty much how all that looks. Let's go down through our predictions and how we got on in the Intermediate Championship. Hopefully this will help me save face a little bit. I don't know though. I predicted Capawhite to win. They did. I predicted Portroe to beat Mull Rovers. They did not. I predicted Knockvilla to win. They won that game. Predicted Ballingarry to win. They won. Predicted Bursakane. They won. I predicted Newport. They did not win. Arvale Rovers won that game. I predicted Golden Kilfeacle to win. They did. And I predicted Shannon Rovers. So I think we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 8. 6 out of 8 in the Intermediate Championship. I think we were 4 out of 8 in the Senior, and I think we were 3 out of 8 in the Premier Intermediate. So off the top of my head, that's 13 out of 24. It's just over 50%, but it's certainly nothing to write home about. But it shows you how hard to predict some of these games are, and it won't get any easier in round 3, particularly in those kind of dead rubber style fixtures. But only I think as I have it, there's 5 maybe 6 dead rubbers out of the 24 games in round 3. So that's really good. There's so much to play for in round 3. But God, we're an hour and 15 minutes. I think I had a slow start there and I really had to bomb through to get through all those games. What am I looking at here? Where's my mouse gone? Here it is. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week's edition of the podcast. Let me go to the camera only there. Right, so again, 50th podcast. Huge thanks for everyone for tuning in. I might try put the video version up on Spotify. I got a notification on my Spotify today that, reminding you that that's possible. It could just take ages uploading and that sort of thing. So you could be watching this on Spotify. If you are, good to see you. It's the first video I've done on Spotify. If you're just listening on Spotify and you want to watch, it is on YouTube. And a final reminder, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. It's all free here. We are very much close to 800 subscribers as I'm recording. And that'll be a nice little milestone. Good reviews and follows on Spotify, retweets on Twitter, all that sort of stuff. Much appreciated. I've kept you long enough. I'll be back next week looking ahead to round 3, giving my predictions, and of course I will be going through all the permutations which people find useful for round 3 of the championship. So that's all coming next week. I will say Tuesday, Wednesday-ish kind of time next week. So until then, have a good week, have a good weekend, and yeah, we will catch up on the next podcast. Thanks for listening, and good luck. And I probably should have done all that when I was just ready to press stop recording, and now I can't find my mouse. So this podcast might never end. Right, I found my mouse. Good luck and God bless.